Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us here today at Confectionery Live. I have the utmost pleasure of being joined here with Blas Maquivar, the President of Global Emerging Markets at Mars Wrigley. Blas, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thanks to you, Caitlin, and thanks to your audience. And very happy to be here and talk about the exciting snacking industry.
Absolutely. And before we get into that exciting snacking industries you just highlighted there, could you just talk to us a little bit about your role and your responsibilities at Mars Wrigley?
Yeah, of course. I am the regional president for Global Emerging Markets. So that is leading our chocolate, gum, fruity confections brands like M&M's, Snickers, Twix, Skittles, Starburst, Lifesavers. In emerging markets like Mexico, Brazil, India, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, India, etc., Philippines, Thailand. So all where we consider fast-growing markets or emerging markets, it is within my region. It is more than 130 countries, and I mentioned to you some of them, Caitlin. I lead that for Mars Wrigley.
That's a lot of ground to cover. In your role, I can imagine.
It is a lot ground to cover. I'm very fortunate to have great leaders in these markets that are leading our business and leading our associates. And something that helps is that although I am Mexican, as you probably notice in my accent, I live in London, and I live in London together with my central team by design, so that London is a very convenient place to deal with this amount of markets because of the time zones. And it is convenient in the sense that in my mornings, I can have a chat with Asia, with Singapore, with Hong Kong, with Vietnam. In my afternoons, I can have a chat with the Middle East, with Africa. And in my evenings, I can have a chat with Latin America, with Mexico, with Brazil, which is their mornings, right? So this complexity, as you correctly highlight, of so many markets in so many time zones, I handle it first and foremost by having the right teams locally, but also by Blas being based in London, to be able to connect with all of our markets in a convenient way, Caitlin.
So before we get stuck into these emerging markets, as I'm sure there are some very interesting things to share in that area, I'd like to sort of start by taking a look at the snacking landscape. It's something we talk a lot about in the confectionery industry. In your opinion, has snacking evolved, and how do you foresee it playing a role in the future?
Yeah, so as I was describing a couple of minutes ago, I see snacking as a vibrant category, right? That it is growing. And that is reflecting, this growth reflects the consumer change, right? Of their lives, of urbanization, of digitization, of the need to socialize, their need to unwind, the need to have maybe a small bite between meals. And all of that translates in the consumer habit of snacking to be vibrant, to be growing. Of course, it's not stagnant, right? The way consumer snacks today is different to the way they were snacking 25 years ago, but per se, the snacking aspect of it is growing and is vibrant. One of the things that we see are evolving or are changing, right? I think that the first one is this piece around socialization that probably got it even more evident post-COVID, the need for us, for you, for I, to socialize with our loved ones, to invite our friends at home, to watch a nice movie with our loved ones, with our family, to host a nice dinner. All of that is increasing, right? And that brings snacking to the table, because when I am watching a nice movie, I might be doing that with my family, with M&Ms in a bowl in the table, you see. Or when I invited my friends to a nice dinner, maybe as a piece of of dessert. I can give them, I don't know, Snickers ice cream, or I can give them a nice piece of Galaxy chocolate. And so that socialization is creating more snacking occasions. Also, this piece around, let's say, healthier snacking, reflecting the need for consumers to go towards better for you, let's say, snacking. It's not that is replacing the indulgence of the normal snacking that we know, but it is coming on top of, right? And we see a clear halo of healthier snacking or better for you snacking. And that is why, for example, Caitlin, we also, I don't know if you know some of our healthier brands like Kind, which is a brand that we have in many places, including North America, the UK, in Europe, some places in Asia, provides that better for you intent of the consumer, right? So these new consumer snacking occasions are bringing new dimensions to the snacking world. And probably the other big aspect of it is how they shop. Probably when I was young, when I was a teenager in Mexico City, I went to my corner shop, which was a 5-minute walking distance from home, to buy my snacks, right? And now that has changed, although still what we call mom and pops or traditional trade continues to be relevant. Now we have all of the DCOM or e-commerce world that has just transformed the way consumers shop. I was in India in November, and we visited one of our key customers that we call them rapid delivery. And they are able, for any given home in the big urban areas or urban cities of India, they are able to deliver products, including snacks, including our brands like Snickers and Galaxy in India, in 10 minutes. So imagine that if I had that 40 years ago when I was a teenager, maybe instead of walking 10 minutes to the mom and pop shop, maybe I would have ordered online and just waited for the company to deliver the snacks to my home. So this has just completely transformed the way consumer shops. And the last thing that I would say is that all of this is interconnected, right? Because that same consumer that ordered their snacks to be delivered in 10 minutes, they're also going physically to a mom and pop store, and maybe once a week they go to what we call brick and mortar shop, like a Walmart or a Tesco or a Carrefour, or they go to a professional convenience chain, and they visit all of them, and all of them interact with each other, with the consumer. So this has completely changed the way that consumers shop. So and this will continue just to evolve into the future, Caitlin.
Thank you for that, Blas. I think talking about particularly shopper behaviors and how they've evolved over time is so interesting, because as you say, 40 years ago, you weren't going online and ordering snacks to enjoy. Do you think e-commerce and social media will continue to play quite a big role in how consumers, or get my words out, what consumers choose to buy when it comes to the snacking category?
Yes, the quick answer is yes, and it will, for many dimensions, right? It will represent a bigger portion of our sales, the DCOM. It will just continue to grow at an accelerated pace. But also, it is not in isolation that e-commerce exists, because it is not only a shopping vehicle where I order things, but it is also an advertising vehicle where we are able to show our content, for example, our M&Ms on adverts, or our Galaxy Pleasure adverts, and they are combined, and sometimes it's very difficult to differentiate that platforms being a sale platform or an ad platform, because in reality are both, right? And they will continue to evolve towards that. But the second aspect is that they are not in isolation, is that they interact a lot with the physical world. And let me give you another example. I was in Saudi Arabia, in Jeddah, in December, early December, and we also visited this quick delivery company. But what they are doing is that they are partnering with the area mom and pop owners, so that when they receive an order, they then connect the mom and pop with the house to then deliver the goods. So both the ecosystem benefits, not only the quick delivery company, but also the traditional mom and pop that has existed for many, many years is benefiting because they are using technology to now deliver their products, to now deliver their snacks. I remember the specific case. We have a brand in the Middle East, in Saudi, which is very, very important, which is called Jules. It's Galaxy Jules. And it is let's say, a gifting brand that in the Middle East, many consumers buy to give as a gift in certain very important occasions like Ramadan. And the household ordered a big, like it were like 5 orders of Galaxy Jules, again, to the quick delivery company. But then the mom and pop that was 5 minutes away from that household was the one that delivered the order, you see? So it's a phenomenon that e-commerce does not act in isolation, but it is becoming both a sales marketing platform, as well as it is complementing the traditional channels, Caitlin.
So sort of working in tandem with each other.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. They are complementing each other instead of one making the other disappear or one hurting another one. They are complementing each other, Caitlin.
That's great. So moving on to the growing and emerging markets, that's going to be a big focus of our discussion here today. What are some of the markets you're operating in, and what are some of the trends you're observing that are having quite a big impact when it comes to the confectionery industry and confectionery offerings?
Yeah, so we created, within Mars Wrigley, we created Global Emerging Markets 5 years ago, precisely with the idea to capture that accelerated growth that emerging markets is bringing to the table. And why is this accelerated growth? Well, it's coming behind that the majority of the population, the world population, or 65% of the world population, lives in emerging markets, but also that the population growth rate in emerging markets, as you well know, is higher than the developed world. And also, economically, in emerging markets, they are growing, right? And there is more money in the consumer pocket. So all of these variables of population growth, of economic growth, are bringing to the table great potential, because all of these consumers and more consumers to come in the future that are having more money in their pocket, they want to snack. Again, because they are moving towards urbanization, because they want to socialize, because they want to indulge themselves, because they have hectic lives, and between meals, maybe they want to have a Snickers to satisfy a little bit their hunger. So all of that snacking habits are present today, and they will continue to be present, but they will be growing, it will be vibrant. As a consequence of that, we created Global Emerging Markets to capture that opportunity. And now within that, I mentioned to you that we have 130 countries, a little bit more, that form Global Emerging Markets. And of course, we care about all of our countries and all of our consumers. But as any company, we need to be choiceful on where do we overinvest or where we want to grow even faster, right? And with these 130 countries, we have chosen a handful where we are being even more intentional to capture an even more accelerated growth using our portfolio of chocolate behind brands like Snickers or Galaxy or Twix, but also including local brands. And this is a very important part of our equation, Casey. Let me give you a couple of examples. In Mexico, which is one of these priority countries within global emerging markets, we have a local brand that only exists in Mexico. Its name is Turin, like the Italian city, Turin. And it is a chocolate brand, but it is created towards the snacking occasion of gifting. It has like a box, it has different pieces, and consumers buy it to then give it as a gift to someone they love. And it only exists in Mexico. Another brand that only exists in Mexico is called Squinkles, and it is a spicy candy that it comes in different forms. And as you know, Mexicans love spicy, right? And we combine sweet with spicy, and we created a brand many years ago to enter that spicy category. I mentioned to you in the Middle East that we have these, we call it local jewels, a brand that only exists in the Middle East, which is called Galaxy Jewels, and it's only exists in Middle East and Africa, and it is a gifting brand. And this combination of the power of global brands like Snickers, M&M's, Orbit, Skittles, with some local jewels, local brands, allows to be successful in emerging markets. And again, we've been very choiceful on these high priority markets within global emerging markets, combining global and local brands that I just explained to you. And then explain to our consumer the benefits or the characteristics or the magic of each of these brands through very powerful advertising that we do through different media vehicles. And then finally, the last element of the recipe is making our brands available. So that when an emerging market consumer in Mexico City or in Sao Paulo or in Ho Chi Minh City or in New Delhi, they want to buy a snack either online or offline, they are able to find our brands, our chocolate brands, our fruity confections brands, our gum brands, because if they don't find them, because snacking is an impulse category, if they do not find our brands, then they will, of course, buy something else. So that's a little bit of our recipe or our choices to be able to capture this growth that is coming our way in global emerging markets, Kiki.
So it's evident you have a very clear idea on what markets you're going to be more intentional in than others,
Correct.
to use your wording. How do you look to address or expand in markets where you're aware snacking and chocolate consumption is lower compared with others?
Yeah, so in emerging markets, consumers snack, as I described to you. They snack through different products compared maybe to Europe or to North America, including that the chocolate category compared versus Europe compared to North America is underdeveloped. And what we try to do is a little bit what I just mentioned to you, which is how we are able to introduce to our emerging market consumers both our global and local brands, in this case, our chocolate brands like Snickers, Galaxy, Ritz, M&M's, and our local jewels like Turin in Mexico or Galaxy jewels in the Middle East. And what we do to drive that growth is, of course, first use advertising. It is different elements, different vehicles, traditional TV, but also online, but also outdoors, so different media vehicles for local consumer to get to know our brands. And then is also this physical and digital availability that is very, very, very important. How we make our brands available so that when the consumer saw that advert online or in their TV, or when they go into a movie, they saw that great M&M's ad, and they have M&M's in their minds. When they go to their favorite shop, online or offline, they find M&M's, right? Because if they don't find it, even if they have it in the top of their minds, if they don't find it available, they cannot buy it. So we have a lot of emphasis, a lot of investments on our route to market, on the way that we reach first the millions of mom and pops that we have across emerging markets, but also the convenience channel, but also what we call modern trade, which is the brick and mortars like Walmart, Carrefour, etc. And then finally, because in emerging markets, this is very important, as I mentioned to you, is the digital commerce, the online channel that is growing at a very fast pace. So we invest a lot of efforts on our physical and digital availability to be able to drive our growth, not only with chocolate, but across our snacking portfolio. It has chocolate, that has fruity confections, that has gum, has ice cream in some of our markets also. So it is a holistic portfolio. It includes the healthier or better for you brands like Kind that I mentioned to you that we are selling in Saudi Arabia, in United Arab Emirates, in South Korea, in Mexico. We are selling our healthier options. So it's a complete portfolio of snacking that we want to drive, Katie.
How important would you say convenience is today to the modern consumer in terms of being able to access and buy these snacks?
It's very, very important. We are seeing across emerging markets that the convenience channel is consistently growing. And why is growing? Well, it's growing because the consumer wants convenience. The consumer in emerging markets, as they move from rural to urban, as they have more busy lives, a busy schedule, as a consequence, they have less time, right, to spend on shopping, and they want convenience. Online solves some of those needs, but also convenience offline is very important to them, so that they can go walking distance to their favorite convenience store and satisfy their immediate needs, not only on the snacking, but in general. So we are seeing the professionalization of the convenience channel, of chains that are expanding nationally in Mexico, in Hong Kong, in Vietnam, in India, and they are growing again because they are satisfying a very important consumer need, which is provide convenience when the consumer is having very busy lives and time is of their essence, and they really want convenient solutions for that, Caitlin.
There are some, of course, challenges that are discussed in the confectionery industry. So, talking about the cost of living crisis and trying to balance affordability with indulgence. What are some of the challenges that you faced as a business in the last few years, and how have you sought to address those challenges?
Well, I think that fortunately, as I mentioned to you, snacking is a vibrant category, it's a growing category that is growing every year because it in a way reflects consumer needs, right? And in that aspect, is one of the categories that it is recession proof, right? However, we do have challenges, and probably our most important challenge is and will continue to be to delight the consumer. As you know, we are a family-owned company that is privately owned by the Mars family. We have existed for more than 100 years. And one of our crucial, I would say, differentiators is that we're a principle company. We have our 5 principles. We call them our 5 principles, and that guides all of our actions day to day. And one of them is quality. And when we talk about quality, the way that we describe quality is about delighting the consumer. And how you delight the consumer is back to your statement, is finding the right balance on providing the best experience possible at the right price. And is finding always that balance to be able to delight the consumer. We make a lot of emphasis on the quality of our products, on the quality of our chocolate, on the quality of our ingredients, the way that we manufacture all of our brands, from sneakers all the way to Orbit. It is our number one priority. And then we are very conscious on charging the right amount of price for our brands, so that by doing that, we offer the best value. If we offer the best value, we are going to be delighting the consumer. And by doing that, we will be bringing to life one of our 5 principles, which is quality. So that's probably when it comes top of my mind. The second aspect of it is, within that, to delight the consumer, back to what I told you about local and global brands, there is a very important aspect on localization. How we find the balance between the global brands, the global flavors, with the local brands and the local flavors. And in Mexico, if you go to Mexico, for example, you will see the local spicy business that I described to you. It's called Skittles. You will have the Turin brand that has a very unique Mexican chocolate taste. And then you will find the Snickers, which tastes exactly the same as the Snickers in the UK. So you have both, right? In Brazil, happens a little bit the same. You have the Snickers that is exactly the same as North America, but then you have local Brazilian flavors. We have something that surprised many people. We had a Snickers bacon in Brazil. So imagine a Snickers chocolate with bacon taste. Why? Because the Brazilian consumer likes it that way. We are launching, as we speak, a Snickers with citrusy taste, like a Snickers lemon. And again, that doesn't exist but in Brazil. Why? Because the local consumer wants it that way. And I can continue country by country on how we have both delighted the consumer with the combination of global and local approach. It's not either or, it's a combination of both that will allow us to delight the consumer. And if we delight the consumer, we'll be successful, Caitlin.
I think there are a lot of very good points you made in there, Blas. I think perhaps maybe the main takeaway from this interview and other conversations happening in the industry right now is that people will continue to indulge and to enjoy confectionery, and that's probably what will continue
completely. And just to expand on your very good point, this vibrant, growing snacking category comes behind different reasons on why consumers snacks. One of them, as you clearly say, is indulgence. After a very hard day of work, you are at home, you want to relax and unwind. Maybe you are already at bed watching by yourself a TV show in your iPad, and then you open your drawer and you have a small piece of chocolate, a small piece of Galaxy. But also, as I mentioned to you, the next day you invited your friends for dinner, or you invited your family to watch the new TV series of I don't know, Private Detective, right? And then at the center of the table, you had M&Ms to share, or you had ice cream, a Snickers or Galaxy ice cream for that dinner. But also, maybe you are trying to do a little bit more exercise, and you are a little bit trying to, I don't know, maybe lose a couple of pounds like I'm trying to do, right? And maybe instead of having that Snickers that day, I will have a kind of, you see? And all of these are different. They are snacking occasions, but they have a different why. Is indulgence, or is socialization, sharing with my loved ones, or is a little bit to be a little more conscious about something better for me. And it is the understanding of these different occasions and having a holistic portfolio, from chocolate to better for you, to ice cream, with different brands, from Snickers to Orbit to Skittles to Turin in Mexico, is that holistic approach to offer the consumer, for then the consumer to choose, depending on what they want, depending on why they want to snack. But clearly, and you're very right to say this, all of this translates into the snacking category being vibrant, being growing, but also changing. And that requires from all of us, from us, Mars Wrigley, which we are the global leaders, to be really one step ahead, right? To be able to delight the consumer on all of these changes. Because if we do not keep up to par to their needs, then we will not be delighting them, and then as a consequence, we will not grow, right? So it's a little bit of the way we approach it, Katie.
Well, thank you, Blas, for taking the time to speak with me here at Crouching Line, and for sharing your unique perspective on growing and emerging markets at Mars Wrigley.
No, thanks to you, Caitlin, and I love to talk about Mars. Probably you see the passion that I have on the company. Is that we are a very special company in the sense being family owned, privately owned, led by the 5 principles that we are a purpose-led company. Of course, we care about performance, but also we care a lot about making the right impact to the environment, to the communities that surround us, to the consumer, because we believe in this mutuality concept of having a positive impact to everyone that has a contact with us, from the cocoa farmers in Cote d'Ivoire to our customers, to our consumers, because by doing that, we can be sustainable. We have existed for more than 100 years, and we plan to continue to be successful for the next 100 years behind these 5 principles, behind this purpose-led business, behind this mutuality concept. So I always get very energized to be able to talk briefly, at least around Mars, because of the passion that I have for the company, for the snacking industry, for emerging markets in this case. And thanks a lot for the opportunity, Caitlin.
Well, I think that's a good note to end on. Thank you, Blas.